Hello, I'm Rebecca Bowring. Welcome to Tech24. Coming up in the programme, it's the scandal that rocked a global media empire. The Murdoch family's been called to account over phone hacking allegations. Can News Corp's digital strategy help it weather the storm? We'll take a look back over the firm's web highs and lows. Pedal Power Mobile. Nokia lets you charge your phone battery while you cycle. Turn a 10-minute bike ride into half an hour of talk time with this €30 dynamo. The phone hacking scandal in Britain has put pay to the country's most popular Sunday newspaper, has cost many high-profile figures, including top cops, their jobs, and has sent shockwaves reverberating through journalism and politics all the way to the Prime Minister himself. Rupert Murdoch and his son James have been forced to give up their bid to buy satellite TV broadcaster Sky B. A humiliating chapter in the history of News Corp, the global media empire that Murdoch Sr. has grown from a single newspaper in Perth, Australia, over 50 years. For more on all of that, Eric OLANDER from France24.com is with me in the studio. Thanks for being here, Eric. So the Murdoch clan's online strategy has obviously evolved over this period since the genesis of the internet. From making readers pay for content to some rather lame duck acquisitions, it has to be said. They haven't always got it right, have they?
Let's start this discussion with a full disclaimer. A lot of people have lost a lot of money and a lot of pride and a lot of humility by underestimating Rupert Murdoch and the Murdoch clan. So I say it's a very dangerous thing to underestimate it. However, when it comes to their web strategy, when it comes to their digital strategy, there have been some bonehead decisions over the years that just are inexplicable. And it doesn't seem like this is a company and this is a family that really gets the web and gets digital in their DNA, and it's instinctive to them. So be careful underestimating them, but
well, precisely that. In 2005, they brought in management consultants Kinsey to give them a helping hand. Obviously, their web strategy was flagging somewhat. A seminal moment for them, though, was when they decided to put two very popular newspaper titles, the Sunday Times and the Times, behind a paywall. That went down well with investors, less so at that time with readers. Has it been a success?
Well, it's still too early to tell. The paywalls, I mean, we've seen with the Wall Street Journal, the paywall has always been a success, but that's a very particular kind of reader. The New York Times, it's looking like it's a paywall, and that's, of course, not a Murdoch property, but just in terms of the validity of paywalls. Now, in the UK, the paywalls are paying off in some cases and not in other cases. Murdoch, what he's trying to do is take a traditional media strategy, which is paying for content, which is something that still a lot of web users are not familiar with doing, and put it into a digital world. But when you take into account all the other mistakes, and using the people from McKinsey, I've never believed in using consultants, because you have to have this energy that comes from within the culture of a company. And taking in outside consultants like those from McKinsey really is never going to work in the long run. It hasn't worked in the past, and it's hard to believe that it'll work in the future. So, you know, the strategies that they've employed, it's a mixed bag, but overall, there are a lot more losses than there are wins for Murdoch.
Talk to us about the Daily. How radical was it to launch a newspaper that's only for tablets?
Again, when I talked about boneheaded decisions, this was really the boneheaded decision. This is that and MySpace are the cases that we should talk about. Number one, the Daily. Only launched on the iPad, avoiding what, the Android? I mean, that's crazy, considering how many more Android installations are out there versus iPad. So number one, their big mistake, only launching on a single iPad. Not really using a web strategy on top of it. They put everything onto the tablet. That's kind of weird. They didn't update throughout the day. More importantly, they launched a product that really was buggy in the beginning. I downloaded the Daily. I used the free trial. The tablet didn't work. The app did not work on the tablet. So that just, you know, for me, I was like, forget it. There's so many more apps that update in real time, that give me more of a better user experience. They basically just tried to create a linear magazine on a tablet and just only on the iPad. So that's an example of the kind of short-term thinking that they have.
You mentioned MySpace there as well. That was what I was referring to as a lame duck acquisition. Now, Murdoch's third wife, Wendy, whom has risen to notoriety, we could say, after that incident
volleyball skills
with the custard pie before the parliamentary committee. Now, she's been quite involved with MySpace China, but the company bought and then sold MySpace at a huge loss, didn't they?
Now, Wendy's role in MySpace was to oversee MySpace China, which, you know,
but it is a real family
affair. That's where
the
Empress is going, you know. Yeah, it was. But at the end of the
affair.
day, they didn't manage MySpace well at all. They bought MySpace at the peak. Mistake number one, $580 million for this acquisition. Everybody at the time thought this was overpriced. Now remember, he pays at the top of the market. $5.6 billion for the Wall Street Journal. They wrote down half of that investment. So he's used to paying top dollar. What he didn't do was he didn't invest. He didn't innovate. And that's what I talk about, that it's not in the culture of News Corp to do this, in part because they have so many conflicting interests that innovation gets pulled away and broken apart. So that's MySpace really is a great example. Sold it for $35 million to investors who also include Justin Timberlake, $580 million to $35 million. It's not the money. They can afford the money. But the problem is the lack of ideas and innovation coming out of News Corp. And that's why I'm very, very cynical about their future in the digital space.
So it's a difficult time for Rupert Murdoch. He's worth $7.6 billion. A lot of that's come from the scandals of others, and now he's embroiled in one himself. So one to keep an eye on definitely there. Thanks for that, Eric. Now it's time for Test 24. Stay with us. It's now time for our weekly gadget segment. And I was going to say that there's a very good reason, apart from being green, to take your bike. And I was going to talk about the fact that you can now power your mobile phone, but you seem to have brought with you, Eric, something from my dad's garage.
It does look like a little pile of junk, but actually this is the technology that I love the most. This is a Nokia bike charger for your portable phone. So you connect first this part. Now, you remember when we were kids and we had a little light on the front of the bike, and that had a little,
wasn't it?
Exactly, and a little charger and a little generator that goes right here. Well, this attaches to the wheel, okay? So that's the part that powers the charger. You plug this little tiny Nokia charger into the wheel, attach your cell phone here, put that on, strap that onto your bike handlebars, and voila, you have a bike charger. Now, in places like South Asia, in Africa, also in South America, these are very, very practical solutions to real-time problems. There's a problem with power in these places. There's a problem of cost of electricity in these places, and the consistency of power. So sometimes you have power outages that go for 6, 7 hours. Now, all you have to do, ride your bike, and you can get a charge.
It looks incredibly low tech. I mean, what do you get? If you cycle for 10 minutes, how long can you talk for as a result?
Well, you cycle for 10 minutes at about 6 kilometers per hour, which I think even you and I can do. It gives you about a half hour of charge, and you cycle for 20 minutes, and you get about an hour of charge. So it doesn't take much to get you up and going. It is pretty low tech, but it's a great idea. And now this really plays to Nokia's strengths. And this is why Nokia, I'm very excited to see that they're the ones who are making these kinds of products, because this is what actually gives us hope for the future of Nokia.
What is it, a green initiative?
It's not a green initiative. They're playing to their base, and their base is in the developing world. This is where Nokia is the dominant player by far. We talk about tablets and smartphones. Well, that's not relevant for big parts of the world. This is the kind of technology that's absolutely relevant and practical and useful and very, very affordable. Less than 30 euros, you're on your way to a charging without a power.
So a big thumbs up for the world's biggest phone maker.
2 thumbs up.
Many thanks for that, Eric, and thank you too for watching this edition of Tech 24. Join in the conversation and become a fan on our Facebook page. It's /Tech24 on the social network, and Eric is running a brand new Twitter feed at EricF24, which is being well followed. And what about those Google Plus Hangouts?
We're doing Hangouts every week, so follow me at Eric Olander on Google Plus.
Make sure you do that. And finally, it's 60s, it's stylish, and it's very, very sexy. I'm talking about Mad Men. That's a hit TV series all about the lives and loves of advertising executives on Madison Avenue. Well, you have to wait until next January for the new season on AMC in the US, but here's something to keep you going. Illustrator Paul Rogers has unofficially redesigned the opening credits to the programme, inspired by classic film and TV titles from the early 1960s. Take a look, see if you think it's better than the original. We'll see you again next week here on Tech 24.